Yellow Vests movement. Origin and nature of the movement. A woman from the Seine-et-Marne department started a petition on the Change.org website in May 2018 that reached 300,000 signatures by mid-October. Parallel to this petition, two men from the same department launched a Facebook event for 17th of November to block all roads and thus protest against an increase in fuel prices they considered excessive, stating that this increase was the result of the tax increase. One of the viral videos around this group launched the idea of using yellow jackets. The movement is organized in a leaderless, horizontal fashion. Informal leaders can emerge, but some have been rejected by other demonstrators and even threatened. According to John Litchfield, some in the movement extend their hatred of politicians even to any would-be politicians who emerge from their own ranks. The Yellow Jacket movement is not associated with a specific political party or trade union and has spread largely by social media. The Yellow Vests movement has been described as a populist, grassroots movement for economic justice, opposing what it sees as the wealthy urban elite and the establishment. Many of the protesters live in tight financial circumstances, often in rural or outer urban areas where there is weak economic growth and high unemployment, and where depending on a car for transport is essential, and increasingly costly. According to the BBC, it's no accident that cars were the spark that ignited this anger. Not needing one has become a status symbol in France. Those in city centers have a wealth of public transport to choose from, but you need to be rich enough to live in the center of Paris or Marseille or Bordeaux. The movement has drawn supporters from across the political spectrum. An opinion poll published by the Alabe Institute showed that in the presidential election in May 2017, many in the movement either voted for far-left or far-right candidates, or did not vote. 5 Le Monde journalists studied the Yellow Vests' 42 directives and concluded that two-thirds were very close to the position of the radical left, Jean-Luc Mélenchon, Benoît Hamon, Philippe Poutou and Nathalie Arthaud, that nearly half were compatible with the position of the far right, Nicolas Dupont-Aignan and Marine Le Pen, and that all were very far removed from liberal policies, Emmanuel Macron and François Fillon. Etienne Girard, writing for Marianne, says the one figure that gathers wide support in the movement has been dead for 32 years, the former humorist and presidential candidate Kalash. Some media outlets were shocked at the hostility they felt during the movement. BFM TV, for example, decided every journalist they sent out should be accompanied by a bodyguard on 8th of December, because of the strong aversion the Yellow Jackets had shown for the network. According to Stéphane Sarraute, a specialist in the history of French trade unionism, the unions were hesitant to join forces with the Yellow Jackets because the movement included people trade unions traditionally do not represent, business owners and the self-employed, as well as people who simply did not want to negotiate. The presence of far-right elements in the movement was also off-putting to the CGT. A significant number of misleading images and information have been circulated on social media concerning the protests. According to Pascal Froissart, the leaderless, horizontal aspect of the movement contributes to the dissemination of disinformation, as nobody is in charge of public relations or social media messaging. One of the goals of the Yellow Jackets being to obtain RIC, citizen initiative referendums, the bottom-up Swiss model of government, where referendums are frequent, has been compared to the top-down French governmental system to explain the lack of a similar movement in French-speaking Switzerland. Comparisons. Adam Gopnik writes that Gilets Jaunes can be viewed as part of a series of French street protests stretching back to at least the strikes of 1995. Citing historian Eric Chapman, he suggests General de Gaulle's centralization of power when creating the French Fifth Republic was so excessive that it made street protests the only dynamic alternative to government policy. The 1st of December riots in Paris were widely acknowledged to have been the most violent since May 1968. Paris-based journalist John Litchfield said that the 1968 events had a joyous side to them, largely absent from the Yellow Vest movement, but that both movements were similar in that they lacked recognized leaders, much as the Banlieue riots of 2005 had. According to French scholar Béatrice Giblin, comparisons between the Gilets Jaunes and the Bonnets Rouges, who opposed a new eco-tax in 2013, were inapt because the latter had been taken in hand by real leaders, such as the mayor of Grenoble, or the great bosses of Brittany, whereas that was not the case for the Yellow Jackets. Some have likened the Yellow Vests to other modern populist movements such as the Occupy movement in the United States, the Five Star movement in Italy, and Orbanism in Hungary. It has also been likened to popular revolts in late medieval Europe such as the French Ocre, and to the French Revolution.